Hello and welcome to Daybreak. This episode is a little bit different from our usual ones where we tell you one important single business story. Instead, Rachel and I are together in the studio today.
Hi. So, we'll start by quickly running through some of the most important business and tech headlines from the week, and then we'll pick one story that's been hard to ignore. This week, it's Grok X's AI chatbot.
So, we know what is going on in Venezuela with the US military invasion, right? The South American country has the biggest oil reserves in the world, but barely 1% of it is actually being used. Maduro, the president, he was captured, and some very bizarre things have followed, as I'm sure everyone knows, including Trump saying that he next wants to buy Greenland.
Wow.
So, today, as we are recording this, Trump has said that the US government is going to take over Venezuela's oil exports. And interestingly, not long after this invasion happened, share prices of Reliance Industries actually here in India went up by over 1% and hit a 1 year high in early trading. ONGC also, their shares rose up by 1 to 2% around the same time.
And
Yeah.
why did that happen?
So turns out ONGC Videsh, it's this other subsidiary of ONGC where
Right.
through which it makes international investments. It
Okay.
is owed about $500 million in unpaid dividends from a Venezuelan oil project that
Okay.
stopped almost a decade ago because of US sanctions and also the economic chaos that was happening in the country.
Right.
So, if exports restart under US control, that money could actually come back to ONGC. And the Reliance angle is a little different. It could actually regain access to crude oil from the country that kind of suits the kind of refineries that it has.
Right.
So, yeah, geopolitics is strange how one country's crisis becomes a gain for so many. So, Rachel, what about you? Any interesting stories that caught your eye?
Actually, today's story from the Ken was quite interesting. It was also kind of in the same vein as the episode you did on 10-minute deliveries.
Hmm.
And the story is titled Decathlon Tests Fashion Through Grocery Speed Quick Commerce. I thought it was quite an insightful piece on how quick fashion is picking up in India's metropolitan cities. And our colleague, reporter Pranati, writes about how this new area of competition for e commerce and quick commerce companies has been burning more cash than making it.
Right.
So, like I mentioned, Snigdha also just covered a similar point in our episode from yesterday, which you should listen to if you haven't already, where she makes a case for how the 10-minute delivery should die. Because what's happening here is that this sector is so crowded and so saturated that speed is becoming one of those like very few differentiating factors that platforms can, actually have new promises on.
Yeah.
But what's also happening is that this target audience doesn't seem to be like see the need for this urgency. So, some of the users that Pranati spoke to in this article, they actually say that this is not a service they are looking forward to like using on the regular. And already the cracks are showing. Platforms need at least 600 orders every day just to break even. But current order rates are averaging at like 170.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
not even anywhere close. Yeah.
yeah. So if this is one of like the last few strategies that they have left to, differentiate themselves in the market, and if it's not showing a lot of promise, then where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's the same for quick food and grocery delivery as well.
Yeah.
This was the last differentiator. Where next? You know. But anyway, moving on to the next story. It is actually a new report by Boston Consulting Group, and I thought it was very interesting. It's basically saying that India has become the world's biggest user of generative AI when we decide what to buy online or, online shopping through apps. And actually, it's not that surprising because most of our shopping here in this country happens on phones
Right.
lately. We're comparing prices all the time, different apps. Browsing actually has become, we are spending a lot of time just browsing, moving from
Yeah.
one app to the other, right? And I think AI actually just plugs into that behavior and speeds it up. So it's a
Yeah.
very natural fit that's happening. But there is also a flip side because brands which will not feed good information into these AI systems will risk being ignored, right?
Yeah.
And AI suggestions will actually steer us consumers towards the few big players that exist, while the smaller ones might disappear. And obviously that will change the way that we shop, what we are buying, who wins the market actually.
Hmm.
And also, what about, I was thinking, what about if AI companies monetize this and then it becomes another
Exactly.
ad thing, you know
Yeah.
you pay to be featured.
And
So what does that mean for consumers?
it makes so much sense in India specifically because we're so cost conscious. We're always looking like for the best deal. And
Exactly.
if we're relying on AI to find the best deal for us, but obviously now there's an inbuilt incentive for companies and AI to make this another monetizable thing.
Correct.
So we're now in looking for the best deals, we're losing out on the best deals.
Probably. All right. So now on to the next big story of the week, which is Grok. Okay. So, Rachel, what has been going on with this XSAI chatbot?
Right. So what happened is that in the last week of December, X introduced this feature called Edit Image,
Hmm.
which basically allows me as a user on Twitter to ask Grok to edit an image that somebody else has uploaded.
Any user.
Any user.
Okay.
So, and any kind of an image. And it's been catching attention over the last week because a lot of users on Twitter have started asking Grok to edit images of women by asking Grok to undress them or put them in bikinis. And in a lot of
Of
upsetting
course.
cases, it's also been happening to children.
Wow.
So,
Men, of course. Why
mostly,
should we say users? Mostly must be men, right?
in most
Yeah.
cases, it is, yes. So the problem here is obviously that, these people have not consented to have their images edited this way. So it's non-consensual sexualized content, which in general is not is heavily regulated on platforms like X. And of course, governments across the world, including India, UK, China, have sent notices to X saying that they need to take down this kind of
Mm.
content and ensure that they put certain rules in place so that Grok doesn't
Do this
do
again.
this again.
Mm.
So now it might seem like users were just abusing a loophole in this LLM, right? But turns out that's not really the case. In fact, X also has this feature called spicy mode
Yeah.
built into Grok AI,
Mm.
which allows you to generate images or videos that are sexually explicit or NSFW and includes nudity and highly suggestive imagery. So that's what's drawing major controversy here.
So they've
And
actually made this feature. It's like a
exact
conscious strategic thing that's been done,
exactly,
right?
because I mean we all know how Musk talks about his relationship with tech. He wants to make sure that Grok is less restricted, and he has this whole anti woke agenda where he wants X to be like the bastion of free speech and not regulated by leftist liberal logic.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of part of all of that. And
Yeah. But what's really strange is that, with AI development, these basic safety standards are kind of inbuilt,
yeah,
right? That's why you can't just go to any random AI platform and ask them for, sexualizing images or like, undressing somebody.
yeah,
But it seems like, especially because of this spicy feature that it has,
hmm,
it seems like it's a very strategically done thing, right, on X's
yeah,
part, because ultimately sex sells, right?
yeah,
And these kind of things do draw in, there's more controversy to it, there's more attention,
yeah.
just by virtue of that they'll probably make a lot of money.
In fact, they
So,
just raised $20 billion from a bunch of different investors,
wow.
including
After all of
Nvidia.
this has happened.
After in the same week,
Oh my god.
from
Yeah.
Nvidia and Cisco's investment arms, notably, and a few other ventures as well.
Right.
So this hasn't really affected their standing, so to say,
Yeah.
except of course from a regulatory angle, where a lot of governments have been asking them to restrict and make sure that
Hmm.
this kind of content is
So in the name
prevented.
of free speech, basically you're not ensuring that you maintain basic safety standards on your platform.
Also, this anti woke thing, right? Like on a free speech platform, why on earth would you have this, anti woke agenda? Because woke people are actually pretty loud. So I feel like you'd want to have them on your platform if you want more speech there.
True.
But
Yeah, if you want more engagement, then yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it
true.
seems like a marketing strategy that's targeted to a very specific kind of
Correct.
audience, which is
Yeah.
very male, very white, very supremacist.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working in X's
Yeah,
favor.
because of the current look at the current political climate right now. I mean, of course, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's very well thought out, you know, this whole anti woke thing. Actually, this reminds me of this episode of Daybreak that I did probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And this was when Grok was still new. And X had written this introductory blog post about it. And it said that Grok is designed to answer questions with a bit of wit and it has a rebellious streak. So if you don't have a sense of humor, then please don't come here, use it. And actually, it went quite out of control because it ended up with Musk being very angry. And I think that is when Grok started changing. The early
Okay.
version of Grok was, of course, like they said, rebellious. It was quite a potty mouth also. And on many instances, it actually bashed Elon Musk himself. And then I remember there was this one bit, I think it was a tweet that it wrote, and it said, well, 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 if it isn't the man who put the twit in Twitter, the one and only Elon Musk. So you want me to roast you based on your posts? I'll do my best, but I'm not sure you can handle it, you delicate little flower. And then it's done something something and then it's like maybe it's your inability to understand basic human emotions or your lack of self-awareness, or maybe it's just because you're a giant man child who cannot resist a shiny new toy.
Oh my God.
So Musk got so angry that, and then actually another thing happened. This professor ran a political leaning test
Right.
on Grok,
Hmm.
and he found that at the time Grok was even more left leaning than ChatGPT. And
Right.
Musk saw this, and then he immediately responded saying, "I'm going to fix this. It's going to be politically neutral." But
Hmm.
look where we are now.
Doesn't have much of a sense of humor if he's the butt of the joke
Yeah,
then.
on the other side, we went to the dark side now.
Well,
But Rachel, I wanted to ask you, I think something that we missed talking about is what has been X's response to this whole situation?
right. So one of the only statements that Musk has put out right now is that anybody who uses Grok in this way will be treated the same way as they would if they were to upload illegal content. The area is murky because they're not directly uploading illegal content, and Grok is an inbuilt app is inbuilt into X, and they're using that to create illegal content.
Hmm.
So now that's a statement that X is put out.
Hmm.
But the thing is, Grok shouldn't be able to create this content in the first place
Yeah.
because other LLMs, other image generation vehicles like
Don't allow
OpenAI
this.
and Gemini, they don't allow
Hmm.
this, which is exactly why Grok is catching so much
Yeah.
flack.
Yeah. So there was no apology from X?
There was an apology from Grok,
Oh,
which is surprising because Grok is not a
human.
human. It's not a person.
This is human error, of
It's
course.
human
Yeah.
error, and it's not the thing that's supposed to take accountability over here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's very interesting because most of the news headlines that I've been reading is Grok apologizes for
yeah.
blah blah blah. Like it's they're putting it on Grok.
Yeah.
Grok, but what is Grok? Who is running Grok? Who is teaching Grok how to be? Uh yeah, that's kind of strange. That even journalism organizations are not catching on to that, Like how can
Yeah,
Grok apologize?
they can't.
Yeah.
One other statement of Musk is also him saying that blaming Grok is like blaming a pen. Like it's on users to use tools with their own discretion and stuff like that. But then again, like we mentioned, they're not, even if they ask, even if they decide to use Grok in this way, Grok should not be complying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, and also somebody said, right, that Grok apologizes makes listeners think that the bot owns the incident, but it's the company's leader. And
yeah,
also about the apology in itself, how did it come? It's just a string of words put together by an AI chatbot,
Right.
and that is based on previous patterns of human speech or human writing.
Yeah.
So that's what it boils down to. It's not really an apology.
There is no apology and there is
Yeah.
no accountability either. I think as of now they've started taking down the content, but there has been no statement about whether they're going to start building certain guardrails on Grok now, which is unlikely to happen because if their USP is that Grok is less restricted and it makes NSFW content, then they can't go against that now, can they?
Right. And Rachel, just one last thing quickly before we wrap up. I wanted to ask you, what does something like this mean for women in country like India?
Well, I think it's actually a pretty huge safety risk because
Mm,
in India we have what we call an honor culture
yeah.
where a lot of our standing, our reputation is tied to the way we appear, especially in terms of sexual purity,
Yeah.
so to say. So if there are pictures of women in compromising positions out there, then questions start coming up. You like
Yeah.
what kind of a person are
Yeah.
you and
And
things
then
like that.
it'll be on the women to prove that actually it's an AI generated image. It's not really
Exactly.
them. And now it's become so real.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
And women have been beaten up, hurt, killed for much less than this.
Right. And on that grim note, this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any thoughts, any feedback for us, please write to us at podcast@theken.com. You can write Daybreak Friday as the subject line, and then we'll know you're talking about this episode. Um, yeah, see you next week.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of a subscriber only offerings, and a full subscription offers daily, long form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleagues Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CN.